Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Friday edition of the Hoof podcast. Appreciate you joining us. Sitting here with Anthony. Sterling's got some kid issues. Had a kid that's sick, so he'll be off today. Anthony, what's going on?
Well, I'm holding down the fort this week. You got stuck at work on Tuesday. Unfortunately, Sterling has, hopefully things are okay there with his son. But yeah, so it's you and me tonight. Let's do this. We're hyped for this game this week for sure.
Yeah,
Cue up the Hank Williams Jr., baby. We're playing on Monday night.
Yeah,
are you ready for some football?
Oh man, I love the Hank Williams. Definitely missed that. But I missed you guys on Tuesday for sure. I got stuck working overtime. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't make a full living doing a podcast. But we're working on that. We're trying to work on that. And if we can pull that off, I won't miss any shows. You heard it here first. Anyway, Monday Night Football, man. It feels good. They got a hell of a slate coming up. 3 primetime games in a row. Technically 4 if you want to count the Saturday. That is, it gets weird, right? It's like Thursday Night Football on Saturday, right? They still have the Thursday Night Football logo and everything. It's all weird. So
it's still primetime
in a row, though.
It's national TV, so it's everybody's watching it.
So can you remember a time where the Bills have had something like this?
I don't think even when the team was going to 4 straight Super Bowls, I don't know that they played 4 straight primetime games. It's quite impressive. They've certainly earned it themselves, that's for sure. We've been waiting a long time for this, and now it's time to put up or shut up, because even now people are still disrespecting the Bills, not giving us the credit we deserve. It's going to keep happening. Now we've got a chance, these 4 games, to put ourselves on the map. Win all 4 of them. Why not? Let's do it. Show them what we're made of. Show them what this Bills team is. Show them this isn't the same old 17-year drought Bills. This is a new team, new generation. Take the division and take everybody down who's in front of us.
Right, and the Bills have definitely earned this amount of primetime games. Got their chance last year. Huge Thanksgiving win. Huge win in Pittsburgh. Hopefully that carries over to this season. Definitely not having the fans is a big impact, but I think it levels the playing field, right? I remember the Pittsburgh game last season, the fans were wild and they were crazy, and it definitely gave the quarterback some issues communicating. I don't think you're going to have that issue this season. It's in Buffalo, A, and B, there's no fans. So what do you think? Is it still like a primetime feel for the players, do you think, or is it more like, hey, it's just another football game?
Well, I think they know the eyes are on them, right? I think it's the mental idea of the entire country is watching this game. You're the only game on Monday night, so you're the only game on Sunday night. So it's going to be, they know what's happening for sure. It's certainly not the same without the crowd there, but the crowd is the same regardless of when the game is, right? When they're there, if it's a 1 o'clock game or a 6 o'clock game or whatever, Monday night game, it's still intense. But with this, it's mostly a mental thing. The entire country is watching. All the cameras are there. All the interviewers are there. All the media is there. You know what these types of games mean. And for the Bills, we're not used to this really. We haven't gotten this kind of treatment before. So they're going to have to adjust, and we're undefeated in that 1 o'clock time slot, and now we have to prove that we don't need to play at 1 o'clock on Sunday to win games, because all of our losses have come outside of that time window. So it's time to put our money where our mouth is and start winning these games.
Right, so now the Bills travel back to State Farm Stadium in Arizona.
Right.
And you had some details on the San Francisco. They're not allowing any contact sports in the city? It's got to be the city because LA is still open, right? So
right.
It must be just San Francisco.
It's the county itself. It goes by county. So from what I've heard, yes, it's something to do with contact sports, but then also I think the bigger deal, because they probably could have gotten an exception for the NFL with that, but the bigger deal is travel. So if you travel anywhere outside of the county for more than 24 hours, I think, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And obviously, if you're an NFL team, that means you can't go to practice or go to the facilities or play another game. So That was the bigger issue. And from what I've heard too, or what I've been reading, this was in the works. I think the 49ers had already known that this might happen. So they were in negotiations with the NFL on what to do and where to go. And Arizona makes a lot of sense. And it's a stadium they're somewhat familiar with. They're in the division, so they play there every year, and it's not too far for them. The Bills are still traveling across the country, as will most. I think they only have one other home game this year, if I'm not mistaken. So they have 2 left on their schedule, which will make it a little bit easier for them. But still, it's never good not being able to play in your stadium with your turf and your,
well, especially when you have the injuries,
locker rooms,
the injuries that the 49ers have had. I mean, it's just going to be hard for them to keep the will, right? Why should we compete, right? They're coming off a huge win last week with the Rams, though. Now they've beat the Rams twice, who the Rams are in that conversation, the best team in that division. I mean, that is a very competitive division.
Certainly.
And they've kind of been in the lead. So, I mean, for the Niners to go in there and knock them off is huge.
Oh, it was a big win for them. But the one thing, this team has not played, they have not given up. They play their hearts out in every game. I mean, they've been competitive in almost every game this season, even with every single injury. I mean, you look at their best player on their roster on the offensive side is Kittle, who's out for the year now. And their best player on the defensive side is Joey Bosa. Or
Nick Bosa, right?
Nick Bosa, the brother. Yeah. We already saw Joey Bosa.
It's hard to get rid of Joey Bosa after he whooped the Bills' ass last week.
Oh, my God. We're staying with him for a while, huh? But the other Bosa, Nick Bosa, he's out for the year, right? So we're not going to see him in this game either. Any other team, you lose your 2 best players. I mean, that deflates you. And on top of that, they lost their starting quarterback. Granted, he wasn't exactly blowing the roof off the place, but still, you lose your leader, your quarterback, and your 2 best players. I mean, that does some damage, and they're still playing in games. They're still competitive. This team plays their hearts out. They're very well coached. They play to the best of their ability. They leave it all on the field, and they're a very respectable team.
Right, and you talk about, Jimmy G being out. I mean, of course, he wasn't blowing the roof off this season, but he didn't blow the roof off really all that much last season, and that's a 13-win team. He's got Super Bowl experience, right. I mean, that experience matters, and especially in a tough division that they're in, I think it would have gave them an extra win or two. Just managing the game and being safe with the football, that goes a long way in a competitive division. And when you have a coach like Kyle Shanahan, I mean, I think he could dial it up and get the run plays going. I think they would have been a lot better team had they had, at least just Jimmy G. I think they would have another win or two. What do you think?
I think the more devastating injury for them was their running backs, actually, because I think that their quarterbacks can do the same thing that Jimmy G can, really, and I don't know that he adds that much. But when you take away their best defensive player and really a couple of their players on defense, more than just Bosa was, Sherman was out. They had a number of guys who were still on IR. They've lost so many guys this season. I think if they had their running backs and maybe Bosa or even Sherman or some other guy for the games that they missed, they would have a couple of more wins. They'd probably be in first place in that division. And right now they're in last place in that division, even though that's hard to believe the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, so anyway, let's move into cash or trash.
We're going to do a little cash or trash. That's trash, bro. I'm going to go cash on that.
I got a few things for you. And we can bounce back and forth. Usually this is where Sterling shines. But we'll jump in. We'll do our best here. First one, we're going to get into the draft a little bit. Of the 5 teams currently projected in the top 5 of next year's draft, the LA Chargers will have the best record going into the season next year, the 2021 season. Those 5 teams, the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Dallas Cowboys, and the LA Chargers. Top 5.
Okay, so you're asking me who's going to have the best record next year, or will the Chargers be the team that has the best record next year?
I don't think there's any doubt. You look at that list, and it's the Chargers, so we're asking you, do you have anything else in mind? Is there another? Do you disagree with me? A, cash or trash?
I go cash. I think the Chargers are, a great team, really, on paper. They have all the pieces you can imagine. They've got their quarterback. They've got, stellar wide receivers. They've got defensive players that can be coached up. I think right now their weakness is their coaching. I mean, look at Anthony Lynn. He basically lost them the game against the Bills. He had multiple opportunities to call the right play and didn't, and they could have easily been in this game, if not won this game. So thank you to Anthony Lynn for making those bad decisions, but he's probably not going to be the coach next year.
So you do think he'll be fired?
I do. But they have their quarterback for sure in Justin Herbert.
Right.
They have those pieces on offense that are dynamic. They're not going anywhere. They have defensive players to build around. I mean, that by far, I think, is the most mouth-watering coaching job that will be available, assuming they fire Lynn.
If you're a guy like Brian Daboll and you're looking at that Chargers team, think about the concepts he's been running with Josh Allen and this receiving group.
Oh, yeah.
That is a shining star, I think, when you look at the other teams. I think, Justin Herbert is similar to Josh Allen in terms of arm strength and maybe mobility as well. But I think that receiving core and guy like Eckler, I think good defense.
Yeah, so many pieces.
If you're going to take a job, I think that's got to be number one for a guy like Daboll.
The only thing I would say about that is the most negative thing about that job that right now is that they play the Chiefs twice a year, and you're competing with the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes, for the foreseeable future to win that division. Whereas, say, you took the Lions job, for example, you have a chance to rebuild. There's no super dominant team in that division right now. It's wide open. So that's the only negative. That being said, I still think this is the most desirable job the Chargers. So they're definitely, I'm cash on this all the way. I think they're going to be in the race for the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Especially another year on the middle linebacker, Kenny Murray. That helps. Who knows who they draft here, but it's going to be a good player if you're top five.
If I was going to pick another team in the top five other than the Chargers, it would probably be
Jets, Jaguars, Bengals, Dallas. And
not Jets, Jaguars, Bengals, and Dallas. So I was going to say the Giants, but I guess they're not quite in the conversation anymore now that they've won a couple games. But they're still top 10. Man.
Okay, so I'm looking at tankathon.com. They're always updating their order. It's a good website. The Giants, they have them in the wild card, and they're currently 19th. So if they make the wild card, does that impact their draft order?
How are the Giants are a wild card team right now? They have 5 wins.
Yeah, but they're leading the division.
They're wild card round of the playoffs. Yeah.
Right.
So they're in the division lead right now.
Right, they're top of that horrible division. But yeah, they're definitely in that conversation, and I would pick them as well. But let's just stick to the 4 teams here: Jets, Jaguars, Bengals, Cowboys.
Oof. Well, unfortunately for the Bengals, they're going to be without Joe Burrow, at least for the start of the season next year. So that, to me, takes them out of it because they're not going to find a quarterback who's going to fill in and get some wins in his place. They know Joe Burrow's the guy that's, once he's healthy, he'll be out there.
Good point.
I'm actually not a big believer in the Dallas Cowboys either because their offense has been... look at Zeke Elliott. You don't need Dak Prescott to explain why Zeke Elliott is fumbling the ball and all of a sudden can't do anything anymore. He's struggling. And that is not promising going into next year. I don't know how he's going to be able to fix that. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be of this team either. And their defense is abysmal, right? Their defense is the worst right now. So they've got a lot of holes to fill on that team. So I'm not very excited for them either. Man, who does that leave then? The Jets?
The Jets and Jaguars.
The Jaguars. Oh, and the Jaguars are going to fire their coach too. So of those two, I would have to pick the Jaguars, actually. I mean, it's crazy to say because all of those teams, I think, are still going to be bad next year. But the Jaguars probably have the best chance to get their quarterback and start moving in the right direction, at least. The Jets do, too. Right. And the Jets have a lot of cap space,
and
I
having
think,
that
going
number one
next
pick
year
is going to be huge for them.
Oh, yeah.
You could spark something. You get a guy like Trevor Lawrence that brings a lot of energy, right? Because there is expectations there. But we know this. They have a long ways to go in terms of building a competitive team. Having the number one pick certainly helps.
if they start all over with a new coach.
So I think I'll go Bengals because of Joe Burrow. There's some stability there. They've been in some close games this season, and they've played well in certain games. It's just getting it going, putting it all together, and another top 5 pick will help them as well. But when you got a guy like Joe Burrow, the team believes, and I think that's really what the Bengals have that the other teams don't right now. So let's move on. Josh Allen will finish the season with more than double the amount of rushing touchdowns than the rest of the team combined. Currently, Josh Allen has 6 rushing touchdowns. All other players on the Bills roster have 4.
Oh, man.
Cash or trash?
Let's see. So he would have to get 2 more to their none or 4 more to their 1. Believe it or not, I'm going to say cash. I honestly think... I think he could get another one, if not 2, this week versus the 49ers, depending on how they defend him. If they go after the receivers and they leave open space, Josh Allen is going to run for a mile. So he's going to have a huge game rushing in this one, and he's certainly not afraid to do it at the goal line. Right now, he's our best goal line threat. So I like this. I'm going to go cash. I really think he could finish with 10, and the rest of them could finish with 5. So that would put him at twice as many touchdowns as the rest of the running backs. I guess Isaiah McKenzie probably has one of those rushing touchdowns, right, on one of the jet sweeps, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that's I still like it. Cash. Josh Allen, the running back.
Yeah, I think it's Josh Allen. I go cash as well, just because he's already got the huge head start. And, we know he's a weapon in the red zone. You saw it last week. And I just think nobody can stop the guy. So, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I also think, the running backs will get more touchdowns, but I think it's going to be split. Zach Moss, maybe Singletary gets 1. He didn't have a lot of touchdowns last season either. But Josh Allen's your red zone guy, and that's just what it is, and it's working. And so far, nobody's been able to really stop that. So I don't see any other way this could work out. So, cash there, we both agree. All right, last one for today. Let's go cash or trash. The Bills make it to the AFC Championship game.
Oh, baby. I'm saying cash for this. Let's go. And I love it right now because the playoffs are kind of working out the way I wanted. In the first round, if the playoffs started today, we'd play Cleveland. We would be the 4 seed, and we would play Cleveland in the first round. I think we can beat them. I think we win that game. Even if it's not Cleveland, if it's a team like Indy, I think we can beat Indy. We've talked on a previous show about our matchup with them. Mm-hmm. So I do think we could beat that team. Yeah. Tennessee is technically the 3rd seed above us right now because of the head-to-head win. So we wouldn't be playing them in the first round. But so let's say we get through the first round, we beat Cleveland. Depending on who wins the other game, we either play Kansas City or Pittsburgh. And in that case, if Pittsburgh's the 1 seed and we play Pittsburgh, I like our matchup against them, and we're going to see how we do against them in the game that we have in next week. So that'll be an exciting playoff round. And if we, again, I would pick us to win that game. So if we win that game, that brings us to the AFC Championship. And most likely it would be against Kansas City, who I would pick on the other side. Barring an upset. But that would be a pretty exciting matchup. I really like it.
I tend to agree with you. I think Cleveland's a good matchup because I think they're one-dimensional on offense. Sean McDermott could dial up, stop Nick Chubb. I know this Cleveland team beat the Bills last season, but it's a new year. I think our quarterback's a year more mature, and it's going to be in Buffalo this time. So I think the Bills have the advantage there. If you look at these top 3 teams, the Steelers, Chiefs, and Titans, I would much rather play the Steelers than the Chiefs. I'll say that. And I think that Titans game could go either way, 50-50. But I'm scared of the Titans. They're a good team. They're balanced. They have it all. They have good coaching. But, that Steelers team, I think the Bills do match up well with them, like you just said. And if the Bills play smart, manage the game well, I think they could pull off a victory in Pittsburgh. And we'll see next week, right? We're going to see that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a ton next week.
I mean, they'll
we'll
be
see
playing.
where this Bills team lines up. It will be in Buffalo.
Yeah,
right.
And
So
that,
advantage
if it's
there,
playoffs, if they're the higher seed, obviously it would be in Pittsburgh. But
Right.
I still like that matchup. Obviously that the fan interaction side of it is gone, so home field advantage might not be as strong as we'd like it to be. But the bottom line here is the Bills have to win a playoff game. You can't make it to the AFC Championship game without playing your best football and winning a game.
Right.
So it's put up or shut up time because all of these teams in the AFC are good. There's no
Yes.
team like the Giants who's limping in a bad division. It's competitive.
Right,
These
and we
teams
know
are
this.
going to bring their A game.
It comes down to quarterback play. It does.
Yeah.
A lot, when it's 3rd and 12, and you got to have it to have a chance. I think Josh Allen gets you that play.
Yes.
You look at a guy like Big
Yes.
Ben. This year, he's all quick release, getting the ball out quick. He's been around a long time. He's a smart player. It's working. But that 3rd and 12 play, I'm not real sure. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I believe in Josh Allen. I believe in his mobility as a weapon. I think Ben's lost that his older age. Obviously, we know who Pat Mahomes is, but Ryan Tannehill as well. That 3rd and 12 play, I'm not real sure. He's relying on the play action to be efficient, and it's working. But if it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, you know it's coming. You know what I'm saying? So I think of those teams outside of the Chiefs, we have the best quarterback, and that's intriguing. I think Josh Allen could be a good playoff quarterback moving forward. All right, that's our cash for trash. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's when we need Josh Allen to show up. He's got to prove it. He did last year, really. He played his heart out in the Houston game, and now he's got a better group of guys around him, and that's how you take the next step.
Right.
He's playing his best football, for sure.
I think Josh has shown us that, yes, he's the reason we were in those bad situations in the playoff game last season. You can tell that he made that his offseason commitment to get those things fixed and be better, and he's done that. And we'll see when we get to be playoff time. There is no fans, right? So that's... that we'll see what kind of impact that has. But I think Josh is playing a lot smarter this year, and I think it carries over in the playoffs. I don't think anybody can look at him and his development and say, this is not going to carry over in the playoffs. The dude balled out for us last season when we needed it, got the team to overtime, and unfortunately didn't get it done, but it's a new year, right? All right, cash trash, let's go. We have 5 for 5 with Anthony. Kick it off when you're ready.
All right, let's do this. Hey, we had another winning week last week. That's all you can ask for in these, right? 3-2 again, bringing my record on the year to 35-25, a very nice 10 games over 500. So we are on the winning ways here, but I'd really like to see a 5-0 week. I'm haven't had one yet. A couple of 4-1s in there. We've got to have that big 5-0. Let's do it this week. I'm going to start with my big bet of the week. And it happens to be one of the teams we just talked about, the Rams -2.5 at the Arizona Cardinals. I think these two teams are heading in different directions right now. The Rams, although they had a big letdown against the 49ers, they have been playing good football and really playing their hearts out, I think. And Arizona has kind of faltered the last 3 weeks after a lucky win against the Bills. They really haven't been able to find their mojo again. So I'm taking the Rams -2.5 at Arizona as my big bet of the week. And my second game here, I'm taking the Tennessee Titans -5.5 at the Cleveland Browns. Let's face it, this Cleveland Browns team, they beat the bad teams and they lose to good teams. And right now, as we mentioned, the Tennessee Titans are the 3rd seed in the AFC. They're a good team, and I think they are going to easily beat the Browns no matter how well their running backs are playing on the other side. So I really like Tennessee in this one. Tennessee -5.5 at Cleveland. The third game I'm picking is the Colts -3.5 at Houston. So obviously Houston's been playing pretty decently lately. Deshaun Watson is exactly who we know him to be, a beast of a quarterback who can do things special on the field. But the fact of the matter is he's losing his one of his best players in Will Fuller. He's losing his other receivers. They're looking at kind of a skeleton offense right now. And I don't know that Deshaun Watson has the weapons he's going to need against a decent Indy defense who's looking to bounce back after giving up a ton of points last week in a heartbreaking loss against the Titans. So we'll see what they can do, but I'm taking Indy minus 3.5 at Houston. My fourth bet of the week, believe it or not, I haven't picked them in a while. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills minus 1.5 at San Francisco. This bet for me was just too good to resist. Obviously, I think the Bills are the better team. They're going to win this game. And with such a low line, minus 1.5, I have to put my money on the Bills here. So the Bills minus 1.5 at San Francisco. And my fifth bet of the week, my last one, I had a few to choose from here. There's a couple of big numbers up in the lines right now, and I was stuck between three of them. The three that I was debating were the Giants plus 10 at Seattle, the Washington football team plus 8.5 playing the Steelers on Monday, and then the Denver Broncos getting 14 points against Kansas City. All of these lines to me are favored. They're a little bit too high for me. I would take the underdog, the team getting the points. But I'm going to go with the Broncos plus 14 versus the Chiefs. I think the Broncos defense has been playing well. You know, they had an embarrassment on offense this week because they had no quarterback, but they're looking to get their rhythm going again. I think that the last time they played the Chiefs, there was a couple of fluke touchdowns, one on the defense, one on the special teams, and they're looking to avenge that a little bit. And 14 points is just too high of a number. I mean, I think they could lose by 10, maybe even 12, but 14 is a big line, and the big lines have not been winning have not been in favor of the favored teams. So I'm taking the Broncos as my fifth team plus 14. So believe it or not, this week I've got all road teams. So my five again, I take the Rams minus 2.5 at Arizona, the Titans minus 5.5 at the Browns, Indy minus 3.5 at Houston, the Bills minus 1.5 at San Francisco, and the Broncos getting 14 points at the Chiefs. Let's go. Let's get this perfect week.
So you're picking the Bills.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Too good to resist there. It's been a few weeks since I've had them in my 5 for 5, but this is, undeniably a favorable line.
Yeah, definitely when you're playing in a neutral area, both teams are going to be on the road, right? Something that doesn't happen too often. It's now the second season in a row that the Bills will play 2 road games in the same stadium as they travel to Arizona to take on the 49ers. 49ers coming off a big win. We mentioned that already with the Rams last week. They're 5-6, not completely out of it yet. Decimated by injuries. I think everyone's aware of that. And they still have a hell of a head coach. I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the brightest minds in the whole league. I don't think anyone can deny that. They come into this game, they're averaging 23.7 points a game. It's good for 20th. They're allowing 23.1. That is 11th. You still got Fred Warner on the other side. You got to pay attention to that. But let's jump into the San Francisco offense versus this Buffalo Bills defense. What does the Bills defense need to do to slow down this 49ers team?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'd say the focus has to be on the run game because they just got their running back, their starter in Raheem Mostert, and we know that the Bills have struggled a little bit against the run, although they've looked really stout in a few performances lately, and the defense has definitely stepped up. But I'd say that the number one guy I'm worried about on this offense is Raheem Mostert. I think you have to stick with playing the run and give up a little bit of the passing yards because there's certainly not big-time threats in the passing game. I mean, especially with Nick Mullins. I mean, he's a good backup quarterback, but he's not exactly a superstar. He's not somebody who makes a lot of mistakes or anything, but the Bills are going to have to take advantage of the fact that he is a backup quarterback and they don't throw the ball deep at all. He's definitely more of a check-down guy. So you're going to need to stay on the running backs and stop that run game, or at least hold them from getting more than 5 yards a carry. And I think that'll bode well for the Bills. They do have a few receiving threats who can, speedy guys like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk is coming back this week. Both of those guys are speedy. They can get the ball. They can, they're good with their footwork. If they get loose, they can break one for sure. But neither of them is going, running a 20-yard route and looking for a deep ball. So the Bills' defense has to be ready for that. I think the Bills' defense plays the deep ball well. Levi Wallace got most of the starting snaps last week, alongside Trey White, of course, and our safeties as well. We have a hell of a defensive backfield. But in this game, I think there's going to be a little bit more on the linebackers. And Matt Milano's coming back too. So, well, we hope. It's not official. He's been taken off. He's been designated to return from IR, but he has not been put on the active roster yet. It's assumed that hopefully he'll get some playing time in this game. We're not sure how much. But yeah, I think linebackers going after those running backs is going to be key.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. The 49ers have more yards than their opponents in rushing and passing. They also have more touchdowns than their opponents, with 31. Opponents have 27. So it looks like the 49ers are going to bring you to their level, like a lot of good coaches do, and try to beat you in what they do. And we know that from Kyle Shanahan. He's a guru with the run, right? You're going to try to get some good running lanes, break a couple. I know the Bills have struggled with that in the past, stopping those. And I don't think it's a good matchup for the Bills, to be honest, when you look at this run game and what Kyle Shanahan can dial up. It reminds me a lot of the Philadelphia Eagles last season when they blew out the Bills. They were getting huge holes. And Tremaine Edmonds was kind of struggling to fill those gaps. And we get Milano back, that's good, but he's been on and off with the injuries, right? So, I mean, hopefully he's not too hesitant to make a play, get in there, get dirty. Because you're going to have
how many snaps he'll have either coming off.
You're going to have to with this team. And they do have two great tackles, right? Trent Williams on one side. Mike, is it McGinnis or McGlinch or something on the other side? I'm going to look it up real quick. McGlinchey, yes.
McGlinchey? Yeah, something like that anyway.
Top pick, right? He's a good right tackle. He's been playing well for them. So I think you do have to pay attention to Deebo Samuel, the jet sweeps, the crossing patterns. I mean, he's dangerous, And Ayuk,
he's speedy.
We know Ayuk from the draft research. He's also making a lot of plays for them. So I don't think they're a pushover team just because their quarterback's out. But Nick Mullins has held his own, but he's not going to be an over-the-top, make a big play. I think you can get a mistake out of him here and there.
The biggest threat on this offense is their style of play, as you kind of alluded to, right? They're a lull-you-to-sleep kind of offense, right? They don't look for huge plays and chunk yardage. They're happy getting 3.5 yards a play, right? Like they'll run the ball for 3.5, they'll run the ball for 3.5, they'll pass the ball for 3. That's a first down, right? And then they'll run the ball. It's not exactly an electrifying offense, and they also do get the ball out quickly, and they like those screen passes. And again, with speedy receivers, all you have to do is get the ball in their hands and let them make a play. And we saw that with Deebo Samuel last week against the Rams. So, they're certainly not to be taken lightly on offense, but you have to stick them a couple times and get a 3 and out. And, we'll talk about it in a minute, but I think what we really need to do is score on offense and control and be ahead so that they're always playing from behind and they can't lull us to sleep and, get a touchdown and a field goal and all of a sudden it's halftime and we've only gotten the ball twice or something, So they're certainly capable of that on offense.
Yeah, and I think if the Bills just have a good week of preparation, I think the Bills are hot right now. They get down there, you make the plays you need to make. If you can slow the run down, I think they're going to be in great shape to get a victory. But the running game does worry me in this 49ers team. I think Kyle Shanahan will figure it out. And you don't know who they're going to give carries to, right? I mean, we can talk about injuries and things like that, but they don't have a single back with over 350 rushing yards this season so far. So, I mean, it's hard to tell who's getting what. I know it's usually a three-headed monster for them. And so that'll be something to pay attention to, and not to mention their fullback.
Yeah, they do have one of the best fullbacks, right? So, I mean, you can't overlook anything on this offense. Again, they're just a bunch of guys who will lull you to sleep and keep getting yardage.
All right, so let's switch over. This Bills offense taking on the San Francisco defense. One name that sticks out right away for me is Fred Warner. I think he's playing lights out, and he's stepped into that leadership role for them. I think he's, if not already there, a superstar, and he's really somebody who can disrupt this game, in my opinion. So what do you think the Bills have to do to avoid Fred Warner? And the secondary is stingy. So, and I know their defensive line is kind of beat up. Nick Bosa's out, a few other key players out. I think Kinlaw, defensive tackle, first rounder, starting to find his groove. He's starting to make plays. I mean, I think he was highly sought in the draft. A lot of people said he should have went higher. But I think he's starting to figure it out, and he can be disruptive. So what do you think the Bills' offense needs to do?
Yeah, I think on offense, the biggest thing I'm worried about, just play to your strengths. Play to your identity, right? I know we tried to establish the run, and they've been trying. They focused on it in the bye week, and they want to be a better running team. And like you said, they've had some injuries on the defensive line. So, I'm not saying don't run the ball. You certainly need to run the ball, but don't be afraid to let Josh Allen be the weapon he is. On offense, what I want to see is let Josh Allen loose. Tell him you have control of this play. If here's the play call, whatever. If the guys aren't covered or if you see a hole, take it. If they give you space, take it, run. Like I said earlier, I think this is a game where Josh Allen's legs could make a lot of big plays for us. He has been opting in a lot of those situations to wait for somebody to get open and pass the ball, which is great. That's what a quarterback should do. But in a game like this, where this defense is pretty good, and their coverage might be on, they might be focusing on their coverage of our receivers, that's going to leave an open lane for Josh Allen to run. And he's going to need to do that if it's there for him. And at the same time, he's still going to be passing the ball. When you have Diggs, when you have Beasley, even without Brown and Gabriel Davis in his place, the offense hasn't looked as good without Brown. But with Beasley and Diggs, you could throw it to them literally every play. So one of those guys is going to be open, most likely. But in the event that they're both double covered and Gabe Davis isn't available, Josh Allen is going to run the ball in this game. And so really let Josh Allen do his thing. That's my summary on offense. Give it to him. Tell him he's got full control. He can audible. He can make the call he wants. Let him do his thing, and I think we'll be all right. And as I said, if we go up early in our first possession, score a touchdown, and just travel down the field and keep getting points after that, that's what we need to do to stay up on this team and let the defense do their job.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the play-action game here. The 49ers are a stingy run defense and a stingy pass defense as well. Right now, they're only allowing average passing yards a game. 206 is good for fourth in the league, and they are currently sixth in opponent average yards per game with 315 in rushing. That's total yards. So I think the play-action game, get them off balance. That's going to open up Diggs. That's going to open up, Beasley. Maybe get these tight ends involved. But you can't do any of that until you get this running game rolling. At least see what you can get. If they're struggling, then I think you got to dial up something else. Maybe like you said, pass heavy. Go for Diggs. Get him hot. But I think I would attempt to get some kind of run game early so you can develop that play action. And I do think you're going to have to win the turnover battle. So limit the turnovers. 3 last week. That's going to be a point of emphasis this week. And if you can win the turnover battle, I think you can win this game.
Yes, turnovers was huge last week. Really, we should have lost on that alone. But like I said earlier, the Chargers weren't able to capitalize. A team like San Francisco, they're going to be able to capitalize on that. So you have to be on your feet and really protect the ball in this game. Absolutely. And also, can we please have a game without so many egregious penalties called against us? I mean, come on. McDermott preaches over there that we got to be, keep our head in the game and not get as many penalties, and yet consistently his teams have been one of the most penalized in the league. So, you don't want it to come down to a couple of big penalties and a turnover to cost you this game. So those are always keys to the game, but certainly in this game I would love to see that, and it would certainly help us gain the momentum and keep it, as I said earlier.
All right, so let's move on. What do you got for a bold prediction and score?
Well, my bold prediction failed last week. It was that we would have a 100-yard rusher, and we almost did. Singletary had 89, but he had that big fumble, in the fourth quarter, and he didn't get touches after that. So I think had he not fumbled, he would have ended up with well over 100 yards. But that's all right. So this week, my prediction is that Josh Allen is going to have 2 rushing and a passing touchdown in this game. So 3 total touchdowns, but 2 rushing touchdowns himself in this one, and probably over 70 yards rushing. I really expect him to be making the decisions in the backfield because they have to respect our pass game, and that's going to leave some lanes for Josh Allen. And as we know, even if they bring the pressure, if he evades one guy, he's going to get loose. So I'd like to see that in this game. Final score, I'm going to go, let's say 28-13.
28-13. Okay, I like that. I'm going to say my bold prediction, no 49ers running back will have more than 50 rushing yards. I think that is going to be the key, right?
Wow,
Stop
yeah.
that run. If you can limit that run, I don't think the 49ers can beat anybody passing the ball.
Certainly.
But and win the turnover battle. So I'll say no running backs for the 49ers over 50 yards. And I'll say this is going to be low scoring and it's going to be a gritty game. I'll go 17-10 Buffalo on the road. Redeem that Murray, Hail Mary, Hail Murray, whatever they're calling it now. I try to avoid it, but we need redemption in State Farm Stadium. All right, so let's get into our final segment here, the picks of the week. And the first game we got is Cleveland traveling to Tennessee. Potential playoff game. Who you got?
Well, like I said, this was one of my 5 for 5 picks. I think Cleveland loses to good teams, period. That's what they've showed us. That's who they are. The bad teams have been competitive against them, and the good teams have been blowing them out of the water. So I'm taking Tennessee in this one.
Yeah, I'll go Tennessee as well. Cleveland's one-dimensional. I think they run the football.
Exactly.
I think Tennessee can do it all. So
yeah,
I'll take Tennessee in that one.
Don't trust Baker at all.
I don't. But Nick Chubb, though, that running game they have is legit.
It's legit, for sure.
And let's go Las Vegas at the winless Jets.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going with Vegas here. They got their faces punched last week in a brutal loss against the Falcons, and now they're playing the inferior Jets. They have to beat them. And I think Vegas wants to make a statement out of this one. They come out and play their best football, so I'm taking the Raiders.
You know something I noticed about the Las Vegas team is every time you say Vegas, I'm like, oh, are these talking about like betting, or are you talking about this
right.
team? And that's the first time that's happened for me.
Vegas has got it.
Yeah, but the Raiders have been criticized all week. I think you cannot go to Jets and lose this game after the performance they had last week. You just can't do it. And I think Gruden knows that. They'll be ready. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh, yeah. The Vikings have been letting me down after I hyped them up for a while there. But the Jaguars are one of the worst teams in the league. They're staying competitive in games, so I do expect it to be closer, maybe a one-score game. But I'm taking Minnesota again here.
Yeah, I'll go Minnesota as well at home. Mike Glennon gets to start again, and I just think the Vikings are just a better team. I mean, I'd be shocked if they lost this one, to be honest. Let's go the Bengals at the Miami Dolphins.
Unfortunately, no Joe Burrow means that the Bengals are at a severe disadvantage here. So I'm going to take Miami. I think they have to capitalize after kind of getting their own selves punched in the mouth during the bye week, the Bills' bye week. So, yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins here.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins know what's at stake. They're a game behind the Bills, and I think this is one they should win. You got a backup quarterback in Cincinnati. The Dolphins' defense is playing well, and they're waiting on the offense, but I'll take Miami in this one. We'll see moving forward. The Colts take on the Texans in Houston.
Yeah, this was another one that was in my 5 for 5. I'm taking the Colts. I just think they're the better team. They're going to come out strong. Houston's moving in the wrong direction, even with their star quarterback. So, yeah, Indy all the way here.
Okay, you're going Indy. Deshaun Watson could change the outcome of this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Texans at home.
Wow.
I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I think he can
even
take
without
over a
Will
game.
Fuller, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, look, I get Will Fuller gets a lot of yards, but, I mean, Watson's the guy taking over these games. It's a division rival. The Texans play them tough. I think the Texans can pull this one off. Shocker. Let's go the Lions without their head coach at the Bears.
Without their head coach. They're probably better off without their head coach in this one. Although, I expect this game to be closer than some would think. I think Detroit plays good, better than they have the past few weeks now that they have fired their coach. But I'm still taking Chicago in this one. So I'll take Chicago in a close game.
All right, I'm going to go with the Lions here, right? Because the players are the one who wanted Patricia out. We've heard these rumors, right? And I think now that he's out, you have to prove that this is the right decision moving forward. This is kind of what the players wanted, the group wanted, and now you got it. So now you got to show up. I think they'll have energy. I think they do surprise Chicago.
Do we know who's playing interim head coach for them? I don't even know.
You know what? I knew this earlier.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, but I just realized I don't know who on that coaching staff would suddenly become the head coach, so
we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
The Saints take on the Falcons in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. This is another game. I think it could be a trap game. I talked about this when we talked about Drew Brees going down, that the Falcons now, they're an on and off team, though. They played amazing last week, so they're due to play a crap game this week. But this game is in Atlanta, and I think the Saints have to lose at least one game without Drew Brees, and I think that's going to be this week. I'm taking the Falcons.
Lions interim head coach Darrell Bevell. He's been around the league, offensive mind. We'll see what goes on there. And I'll take Tyson Hill. Atlanta's playing well right now. Another coach, right? Backup coach. You know what? I'll take Atlanta at home. Okay. I mean, every time we pick them,
yeah,
they lose.
I know. Every time we pick them, they lose. So
but
we'll
I think it's different this time, right? Tyson Hill, I think it's pretty limited as a passer. If it's Drew Brees, I think it's a different outcome, but it's not. So let's go Falcons. All right, New York Giants at the Seahawks.
I actually think I'm picking the Seahawks to win this game, but I think the Giants are going to make it competitive. As long as Daniel Jones plays, which I think he was at practice today at least, so it's promising at least that he might be in the game, then the Giants have a shot. Don't count them out of this one. Seattle has not looked that great over their last few games, and the Giants have been trending in the right direction, trying to hold on to that division win. So I'll take Seattle, but don't count out the Giants.
Yeah, I think this Giants offense can score some points, but I'm not. Their defense makes me nervous. I think Russell Wilson shreds them. I think it's a 3-score game. I'll take Seattle. Let's go the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep, this was my big bet of the week. I like this Rams team, and the Arizona Cardinals seem to be struggling a bit. So I'm taking the Rams all the way.
Yeah, after I think Sean McVay called out Jared Goff in a press conference saying you can't turn the ball over. So here we are. Put up or shut up. I think the Rams put up. I'll take the Rams in that one. The New England Patriots at the LA Chargers. Back-to-back games for the Patriots in LA.
Go Chargers, go. Oh, yeah, I'm taking the Chargers just because I don't trust New England. I mean, sure, they had a big win last week, but they got lucky on a missed field goal at the end of the game by Arizona. I just think that we just played this Chargers team. They're very dynamic on offense. They're going to be, playing strong. They're at home. I'll take the Chargers.
I'm going to go New England here. Cam in L.A.
Boo.
I like it. I mean,
Boo.
They know where they are. They need to get the win to be 6-6. This Chargers team, it just seems dysfunctional at this point. So I'll go New England in that one. Eagles at the Packers.
Oh, man, the Eagles. I watched that game because it was in prime time this week, and the Eagles are terrible. They look lost. Carson Wentz looks horrible. I mean, his passes, I trusted him running the ball more than throwing it in that game. And they had a garbage time touchdown to steal my victory in the spread there. But, man, I have to go Green Bay all the way here. I think it's going to be brutal. Green Bay is another team that plays hot and cold, but against this Philly team, they didn't show anything positive to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm going Packers there till Carson Wentz can figure it out. I don't think they win any games. Let's go Denver at Kansas City on the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I talked about this game. I'm taking Kansas City to win it for sure, but don't count out the Broncos. They want to make this competitive. They got Drew Lock back. They have some of their weapons back. Their defense is playing well, but I'll take Kansas City.
Yeah, I'll go Kansas City as well. I think the Denver's defense is going to slow them down a little bit. I think Vic Fangio's been around the league. He knows what he's doing. But that offense for the Broncos, I think, is not going to show up. So let's go to Monday night, the first game before the Bills game, Washington at Pittsburgh.
This is another game where Pittsburgh, I don't know how they're undefeated. They find a way to win games, but it's more like they find a way to not lose games. And the Washington football team has been playing really well with Alex Smith at the helm. It's a tough game for me to call, but I want Pittsburgh to be undefeated going into that Bills game. I'm worried about it this week, but I'm taking Pittsburgh because I want them to stay undefeated.
You know, Washington could be a team that shocks them, but I think Pittsburgh escaped with a bad game last week with the Ravens, and I think they get those things corrected. Maybe a little overconfident going into the Bills game if we're lucky. And there is one Tuesday game, Dallas at Baltimore on Tuesday.
Yeah, this game moved because of the COVID issues there too. I'm taking Baltimore in this one, assuming that they get their running backs back, and obviously Lamar Jackson will be expected to be back for this game, I would assume, so I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, if Jackson's back, I'll take Baltimore as well. Dallas, I don't know what they're doing this season. We'll write them off till next year. So Baltimore with the second disrupted game of the week. And that's all we got. So first Monday night game for the Bills this season.
Yeah,
let's go. It's going to be a fun one.
I'm ready for some football on Monday night, baby. Let's go.
Get used to it. You got 4 primetime games in a row, and it starts this week, Monday night, Arizona.
I think their new theme song, the Carrie Underwood song, is more appropriate though. Waiting all day for Sunday or for Monday night, right?
Right. Well, especially I'm on the East Coast, so that's way late.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I can't imagine.
Going into
It'd be weird
the night.
moving back there.
So, make sure you check out our reaction on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check that out on Cover One. It's be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all social media platforms. You can check out our Friday show, as well as our Tuesday show recorded on all the Cover One podcasting network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any podcast platform you can think of, it's there. Be sure to check it out, and we'll see you Tuesday. We're going to get all 3 of us together. It's going to be next week.
Let's do it. Get the band back together. All right. Go Bills.